presidency. We may well be entering the age of the era of an Obama presidency, which gives
It is now 11 o'clock on the East Coast, and Keith, we can report history.
Barack Obama is projected to be the next president of the United States of America. NBC News calling for the Democratic candidate. The states of California, 55 electoral votes. Washington, 11 electoral votes. Oregon, 7 electoral votes. And Hawaii, 4 electoral votes. Listen to the crowd at Grant Park in Chicago.
Hello, Chicago. If there is anyone out there who still doubts that America is a place where all things are possible, who still wonders if the dream of our founders is alive in our time, who still questions the power of our democracy, tonight is your answer. It's the answer told by lines that stretched around schools and churches in numbers this nation has never seen, by people who waited 3 hours and 4 hours, many for the first time in their lives, because they believed that this time must be different, that their voices could be that difference. It's the answer spoken by young and old, rich and poor, Democrat and Republican, black, white, Hispanic, Asian, Native American, gay, straight, disabled and not disabled, Americans who sent a message to the world that we have never been just a collection of individuals or a collection of red states and blue states. We are and always will be the United States of America.
Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats.
Today, not only inaugurate a new administration, we pledge ourselves.
you prepared to take the oath, Senator?
I am.
I, Barack Hussein Obama, do solemnly swear
I, Barack Hussein Obama, do solemnly swear
that I will execute the office of President to the United States faithfully,
that I will execute
the office of President of the
the
United
office of President of
States,
the United States faithfully,
and will, to the best of my ability,
and will, to the best of my ability,
preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States.
preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States.
So help you God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Mr. President. All the best wishes.
My fellow citizens, I stand here today humbled by the task before us, grateful for the trust you've bestowed, mindful of the sacrifices borne by our ancestors. 44 Americans have now taken the presidential oath. The words have been spoken during rising tides of prosperity and the still waters of peace. Yet, every so often, the oath is taken amidst gathering clouds and raging storms. We gather because we have chosen hope over fear, the God-given promise that all are equal, all are free, and their full measure of happiness. Perfection. This is the journey we continue today. There is work to be done. The state of our economy calls for action, bold and swift, and do our business in the light of day, because only then can we restore the vital trust between a people and their government.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the singing of our national anthem by the United States Navy Sea Chanters Chorus.
Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
Well, I am pleased and deeply gratified that the Senate has voted to confirm Judge Sonia Sotomayor as our nation's 111th Supreme Court Justice.
There were many causes of the turmoil that ripped through our economy over the past 2 years. But above all, this crisis was caused by the failures in the financial industry. What's clear is that this crisis could have been avoided if Wall Street firms were more accountable, if financial dealings were more transparent, and if consumers and shareholders were given more information and authority to make decisions. But that didn't happen. And that's because special interests have waged a relentless campaign to thwart even basic common sense rules to prevent abuse and protect consumers. In fact, the financial industry and its powerful lobby have opposed modest safeguards against the kinds of reckless risks and bad practices that led to this very crisis. Every day we don't act, the same system that led to bailouts remains in place, with the exact same loopholes and the exact same liabilities. And if we don't change what led to the crisis, we will doom ourselves to repeat it. That's the truth. Opposing reform will leave taxpayers on the hook if a crisis like this ever happens again. So my hope is that we can put this kind of politics aside. My hope is that Democrats and Republicans can find common ground and move forward together. But this is certain. One way or another, we will move forward. This issue is too important. The costs of inaction are too great. We will hold Wall Street accountable. We will protect and empower consumers in our financial system. That's what reform is all about. That's what we're fighting for. And that's exactly what we're going to achieve. Thanks so much.
While we can't presume to replace Justice Stevens' wisdom or experience, I have selected a nominee who I believe embodies that same excellence, independence, integrity, and passion for the law, and who can ultimately provide that same kind of leadership.
I don't want to lump you in with a lot of other pundits. But this notion,
you may.
Look, this notion that healthcare was timid, you've got 30 million people who are going to get health insurance as a consequence of this.
Right.
You've got a patient's bill of rights that makes sure that insurance companies can drop you when you get sick if you've been paying premiums, that make sure there aren't lifetime limits, make sure that kids who are don't have health insurance can stay on their parents' health insurance until they're 26, and cuts the deficit by over $1 trillion. This is what I think most people would say is as significant a piece of legislation as we've seen in this country's history.
We gather to remember at this sacred hour on hallowed ground, at places where we feel such grief and where our healing goes on. We gather here at the Pentagon, where the names of the lost are forever etched in stone. We gather in a gentle Pennsylvania field, where a plane went down and a tower of voices will rise and echo through the ages. And we gather where the Twin Towers fell, a site where the work goes on so that next year, on the 10th anniversary, the waters will flow in steady tribute to the nearly 3,000 innocent lives. Good evening. Tonight, I can report to the American people and to the world that the United States has conducted an operation that killed Osama bin Laden, the leader of al-Qaeda, and a terrorist who's responsible for the murder of thousands of innocent men, women, and children. And so shortly after taking office, I directed Leon Panetta, the director of the CIA, to make the killing or capture of bin Laden the top priority of our war against al-Qaeda. And finally, last week, I determined that we had enough intelligence to take action and authorized an operation to get Osama bin Laden and bring him to justice. Today, at my direction, the United States launched a targeted operation against that compound in Abbottabad, Pakistan. A small team of Americans carried out the operation with extraordinary courage and capability. No Americans were harmed. They took care to avoid civilian casualties. After a firefight, they killed Osama bin Laden and took custody.
The President addressed the nation on reducing our nation's budget deficit, growing the economy, and creating jobs.
Last week, we reached an agreement that will make historic cuts to defense and domestic spending. But there's not much further we can cut in either of those categories. What we need to do now is combine those spending cuts with two additional steps. Tax reform that will ask those who can afford it to pay their fair share,
and modest adjustments to health care programs like Medicare.
Ended the day by hosting an iftar dinner, celebrating the Muslim holy month of Ramadan, an annual White House tradition since 1996.
Tonight is part of a rich tradition here at the White House of celebrating the holy days of many faiths and the diversity that define us as a nation. So these are quintessentially American celebrations, an America that doesn't simply tolerate people of different backgrounds and beliefs, but an America where we are enriched by our diversity, an America where we treat one another with respect and with dignity, remembering that here in the United States there is no them or us.
Hello.
It's just us.
Country Corner Farm in Alpha, Illinois. For the past few days, I've been traveling to small towns and farm towns here in the heartland of this country. I sat down with small business owners in Guttenberg, Iowa, and ranchers and farmers in Piasta. I had lunch with veterans in Cannon Falls, Minnesota, and talked to plant workers at a seed distributor in Atkinson, Illinois. And to the girls' volleyball team in Maquoketa High School, let me just say one thing: go Cardinals. Now, I'm out here for one reason. I think Washington, D.C. can learn something from the folks in Atkinson and Piasta and Cannon Falls. I think our country would be a whole lot better off if our elected leaders showed the same kind of discipline and integrity and responsibility that most Americans demonstrate in their lives every single day. Because the fact is, we're going through a tough time right now. We're coming through a terrible recession. A lot of folks are still looking for work. A lot of people are getting by with smaller paychecks or less money in the cash register. So we need folks in Washington, the people whose job it is to deal with the country's problems, the people who you elected to serve. We need them to put aside their differences to get things done. There are things we can do right now that will mean more customers for businesses and more jobs across the country. We can cut payroll taxes again, so families have an extra $1,000 to spend. We can pass a road construction bill so construction crews who are now sitting idle can head back to the work site, rebuilding roads and bridges and airports. We've got brave, skilled Americans returning from Iraq and Afghanistan. Let's connect them with businesses that could use their skills. And let's pass trade deals to level the playing field for our businesses. We have Americans driving Hyundais and Kias. Well, I want to see folks in Korea driving Fords, Chevys, and Chryslers. I want more products sold around the globe stamped with 3 words: Made in America. These are common sense ideas, ideas that have been supported by both Democrats and Republicans. The only thing holding them back is politics. The only thing preventing us from passing these bills is the refusal by some in Congress to put country ahead of party. That's the problem we have right now. That's what's holding this country back. That's what we have to change. Because for all the knocks we've taken, despite all the challenges we face, this is still the greatest country on earth. We still have the best workers and farmers, entrepreneurs and businesses, students and scientists. And you can see that here in Alpha. You can see it along the country roads that connect these small towns and farmlands. You know, these past few days I've been seeing little kids with American flags and grandparents in lawn chairs. I've shaken hands with folks outside machine shops and churches, corner stores and farms. It reminds me of why I got into public service in the first place. Getting out of Washington and spending time with the people of this country, seeing how hard you're working, how creative you are, how resourceful you are, how determined you are, that only makes me more determined to serve you as best I can as president. And it only makes me more confident in our future. That's why it's so important that folks in Washington put country before party. That's why it's so important that our elected leaders get past their differences to help grow the economy and put this nation back to work. Because here in Alpha, it couldn't be more clear. If we can come together, there is no stopping the United States of America. There's no doubt that our future is bright. Thanks, and have a great weekend.